Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming, and today I am going to be talking about my top 5 Star Wars games. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've spoken about it many times on the channel, and you know, in the current state of Star Wars, what with Disney doing everything they can to drive its arse into the ground and make no one like it, apart from the people on Twitter who don't actually watch it, I thought I would actually go back and bring up some good points from Star Wars and make myself feel better about the whole thing again. I mean, Christ, if I can survive the destruction of Star Trek, surely I can survive the destruction of Star Wars. Anyway, let's kick off with 3 honourable mentions. Didn't quite make my top 5, but 3 excellent games in their own right. Star Wars Republic Commando. That's a very nice first-person shooter. It's got good squad mechanics. It's satisfying to shoot things. It's got a good storyline. The only downside for me was that it was based around the prologue movies, which at the time of seeing them I thought they were the worst thing in the world and responsible for the death of Star Wars. How wrong I was! Disney was like, hold my beer. Here you go. Here's the death of Star Wars, mate. It's called Rey. But yeah, Republic Commando, good game, pretty cheap, pretty old in fact, and pretty cheap on Steam, so want to try it? Go ahead. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Much more recent game now. You play as Cal Kestis, who is a Jedi in hiding. He was a Padawan to his master when all the shit went down, and he had to give up his Jedi ways to hide from the Empire. And it's a solid action-adventure game. There's a lot of platforming in it, which is why it didn't make the list, because I hate platforming. And puzzles are no friend of mine when it's stupid, obscure puzzles about moving balls around with your force powers. The combat's very good. It's like Souls-like, but lesser difficulty. It looks great. It's acted great. I'm super pleased that they used Cameron Monaghan, I think he was the name, as Lee, because like redheads are a dying breed in Hollywood. They seem to be getting recast all over the shop with people that aren't redheaded for some reason. I don't know what Hollywood has against them. Personally, I find redheads quite attractive. A bit much to my chagrin. Yeah, there's a story there, don't ask. Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. Excellent game. Once again, otherwise why would I be talking about it? Strategy game. It's basically Age of Empires, classic Age of Empires, wearing a classic Star Wars hat. And that's really what you need to say about it, because that's exactly what it is. And it's great. Who doesn't love Age of Empires, especially like not 3? I almost reviewed that and I was just like, I can't be playing this. But yeah, Age of Empires, Star Wars, all good, all good. Okay, so now we come to the list proper, and coming in at number 5 is Star Wars Battlefront II, released November 2017. Now, I know, it's very popular hate on this game, and I agree. You know, when it came out, the microtransactions were ridiculous. It was very predatory. You know, all that shit is absolutely spot on. I can't argue against it. Nowadays, though, they've completely cleaned it up. It's a good multiplayer shooter, and for me, I mean, you're going to come to realize as we go through this list, I'm more about the starships rather than the people. So having the starship mode in this, and it was really well done, and I enjoyed playing it. It actually got me to play a multiplayer game. You know how much I hate those. So yeah, and it looks fantastic. I know EA is being a dick by making everybody use a Frostbite engine and everything like that, but my god, it looks great. It runs pretty well too, I found. So there you go. Number 4, Star Wars Empire at War. So this is fairly similar to Galactic Battlegrounds, but it's a lot bigger in scope. It plays like a cross between Rebellion and Galactic Battlegrounds. You can be the Empire, you can be the Rebellion, and you go from planet to planet. You move fleets around the galaxy, or the solar system, the universe. No, galaxy. I was right the first time. Fuck.
Roger that.
So you move it around. You build up your resources. You attack. They obviously, whatever you've got sort of shuttled in will then translate to onto the battlefield, whether it's above the planet in space or whether it's on the planet.
Good as gone.
and it's resource gathering and building and all that good shit. It's almost like a 5X game in certain regards as well, so there's just a lot more scope, which is why it made the list and Galactic Battlegrounds didn't. Number 3, TIE Fighter. Okay, this came out in July 1994. It's the oldest game on the list, and it is by far my favourite of that sort of totally games era of flight simulators for Star Wars, because you had X-Wing and TIE Fighter, and X-Wing versus TIE, and X-Wing Alliance. All good games in their own right, but TIE Fighter me was just the sweet spot. I remember, to this day, I remember specifically buying this because it wasn't brand new out. It was maybe a year old when I got it. So yeah, I'm old, but whatever. We knew that. And I got in some vouchers for W.H. Smith's for Christmas or a birthday or something. And I was stood in Smith's looking at TIE Fighter. And it was priced as it literally just released. It was like full price. I'm like, that's most of my coupons, man. Most of my vouchers will be gone if I get that. And I was literally stood there 20 minutes going... part of me wanted to just go up to the cashier and be like, dude, why is this price like this? Why could be such a dick? But no, of course I didn't do that. I ended up getting it. And although I did overpay for it at the time, it certainly delivered in terms of entertainment. You really have to fly very carefully in it, because obviously being in an X-Wing, you don't have any shields. An X-Wing, TIE Fighter, I mean. You don't have any shields, so you got to be very careful. You know, you can get taken out really easily. So you have to fly well. There are some bigger ships like the TIE Advanced and the gunboat that do have shields later on, but like when you stuck in just like little piddly ties, no. And it had a little bit more than X-Wing for me in the fact that it had, like, the storyline with the Emperors, and you got like the mark on your arm as you completed missions for him. You're like, ha ha ha, I'm an evil bastard. Ha ha ha. Yeah, okay. Let's move along. Number 2, Knights of the Old Republic. So, Knights of the Republic. Very, very, very established place in my heart, this one has. It's a great story. It's one of the best role-playing games I've ever played. There's clunkiness to it. And obviously, it's getting on now, because it was released in November 2003. That was the PC version. I believe the Xbox One came earlier. But, I mean, I just love this game. I remember I got it literally on Christmas Eve one year. And you know what it's like on Christmas Eve normally, especially when you're younger. You're excited. And you're like, oh, I can't wait for tomorrow. Fuck Christmas Eve. I hate it. Bring on Christmas Day. Yeah, loved it. This pretty much took over Christmas Eve and the rest of Christmas for me. So my Christmas came kind of early for me that year. So you play a Force sensitive that gets trained in the ways of the Jedi. And there's a plot twist that you're actually someone very significant to the universe. But I won't ruin that for anybody, even though you should really know that by now. Apparently there is a remake in the works, although it's questionable when or if that will even release. Because I think it's been pushed back, which is good, because they're hiring writers now. I don't understand why they're hiring writers. You don't need writers to remake Knights of the Republic. Just do the same thing, but like clean up the combat system and the inventory screens, and give the graphics an overhaul, and you're done. That's all you need to do to it. Seriously, the story's perfect. You don't need to do any more story, especially with a couple of the writers they hired who are more activists than writers, let's just say. Yes, but the original, beautiful, man. The second one came out, was good as well, but it was unfinished, really, which is a bit of a shame. But the thing I liked about it most is you could go like dark side or light side. So you could be an utter arsehole and use your force powers in devious manners. And I loved it. I just remember landing on a ship and someone coming over and like to hassle me, and I was just like, yeah, jump off that gantry over there. He's like, I'll jump off that gantry over there, mate. Alright. I was like, that might have been the second one actually, but it was similar. It was similar. Okay, now we come to number 1. Star Wars Squadrons. Now this is a very personal number 1. I would understand incredibly so if most people didn't have this at their number 1 slot. But for me, it was the realization of like 40 years of dreaming about flying a fucking X-Wing. I remember I've told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. You're going to sit through it. I remember being a small child, sat on a rocking chair with a cushion up in front of me, rocking it back and forth, watching Luke do the Death Star trench run on VHS. That is where I'm coming from. This game just said, okay, you got a Quest 2, you got a piece, here you go, have your childhood wish. I was like, oh, thank you. Unfortunately, it is kind of petered out in the... I mean, we got like a B-Wing edition for it and stuff like that, but I was hoping they were going to introduce many more ships, and they haven't really done it. I don't think they're going to do it. It was kind of a strange one that came out of left field. It didn't feel like it really fit EA's business plan, even though it was multiplayer. So, yeah, I'm not sure what hopes we have of getting a second one, but the first one's great. I like the story. It's very good. Just being able to sit inside like a TIE fighter now and look around is just wonderful. I just sat there with my Quest 2 on my bonks and my Warthog joystick and throttle in my hands, and I'm just like, yes, this is absolutely what I wanted most of my life, with the exception of pussy. Because that's obviously the best thing in life. Conan is... he's wrong. Lamentation of a Woman's nice, but that's better. I'm just saying. So there we have it, guys. That's my top 5. Obviously, it's a very personal list to me, and it's not based on, like... it's just based on how much I like them, really, rather than any review scores or anything like that, or even their worth or their significant contribution towards the industry or anything like that. It's just how much I like them. Obviously, you guys will probably have a different list. Let me know in the comments down below what yours are. Top 5, sling them in there. Have a good old argument. I mean, there are some great Star Wars games. There are some less than good Star Wars games. Let's be fair. Fortunately, the Disney creep doesn't seem to have hit the games yet. Although it has hit, you know, the EA creep has hit the games for a lot of it. And, you know, they've also put out some good ones. I mean, Fallen Order, and I know Battlefront 2 is like the one they cite as the one, you know, EA ruining everything, but, you know, I enjoyed it. And Squadrons, so I would have liked to see them put out a bit more, and I would have liked to not have them be exclusively bound to the Star Wars license. I would like to see other studios having cracks and doing different things, like that Amy Hennig led game. I can't remember what it's called now. It's like Section 5 or something. I can't remember. But that's really interesting, and I think a lot of the time Star Wars games fall into the trap of like, must be Jedi, must be Jedi, must be Jedi. No, there's so many interesting things and characters, and you know, you'd be a starfighter pilot or a bounty hunter, and you know, blasters are cool. You know, laser swords are cool. Blaster swords are cool as well. You know, we can have a happy... I like to see a Jedi with a blaster and a laser sword. How about that? Hey! But no. Anyway, guys, I've blathered on long enough. As I say, let me know down below, or even if there's ones that you think I haven't played. I'm relatively certain I've played nearly every Star Wars game, but if you think there's one I've missed, let me know about it, or at least one that you want to make sure I play. You think you can reorder my top 5, eh? We'll see about that. Anyway, guys, catch you next time. Take it easy.